Welcome to the 2 Degrees C Climate Chat podcast, your weekly guide to everything that's happening within the climate around the world. My name is Neil Vinnikirk. I'm the Executive Director and a founding member of 2 Degrees C. Each week in the 2 Degrees C Climate Chat podcast, we discuss issues relating to the climate crisis. So join us as we explore in the 2 Degrees C Climate Chat. Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us for the 2 Degrees C Climate Chat. Today, joining me, we have quite a team. We've got Dr. Carsten Schein, who some of you have met before, as well as my partner Jenny Disson, both founding members of 2 Degrees C. Joining us also today, we're very happy to have High Touch, High Tech, and Dan Shaw and Terry Connolly. So welcome to both of you.
Glad to be here.
We're happy to have you. Okay, Dan, maybe we should start with what is High Touch, High Tech?
High Touch, High Tech provides hands-on science experiences for kids. It came, the four words, High Touch, High Tech. High Touch is hands-on, and High Tech is preparing for this high-tech world that we all live in. So we provide children with stimulating, compelling, interesting, hands-on science experiences at a young age to empower them to gain an interest and hopefully lifelong love of science.
Gotcha. And you bring this to the classrooms, is that correct?
Yep, we bring them physically right into the classrooms. Nowadays, of course, during the pandemic, we deliver science kits, our own science kits to the classroom, and then we lead them. One of our scientists will lead that classroom virtually on Zoom.
That's great, Dan. Thank you. And Terry, how has the pandemic affected, your ability to reach children?
Well, obviously with the schools mostly being remote, although some are going back part-time or maybe even some are full-time, of course, they're not allowing third parties into the classroom. So what we've done is we've taken our in-person hands-on experience and we've repackaged it into a virtual experience. And so what we do is we take the materials for a program, and now instead of having group activities or shared materials, every student receives an individualized science kit. We'll deliver those materials to the school in advance, and then our science instructor will guide the kids through the program virtually, but the kids still get to be hands-on, they still get to perform the experiments, and they still get to do what we call our make and take activities, where of course now they get to make their experiments and they get to keep them. Ultimately, with the goal being the science experience is more meaningful and memorable when it's hands-on. And we've been teaching virtual classes almost daily, and we've received really positive reviews, and the kids are that much more excited when we're delivering our experiences because it changes things up. Just like it would normally in school, we're providing that same level of kind of break in content and presentation from the regular classroom teacher. We get to come in and kind of be the superstars for a little bit and get the kids super excited, and they get to roll up their sleeves and become scientists themselves. It's really been a big learning curve for us, but something that we're really excited to see be successful, and something that I think even post-pandemic we will continue to offer, which will allow us to reach just that many more students whose schools maybe are far-reaching that wouldn't make sense for us to go to in person, but now we can offer this additional experience and reach that many more kids.
That's great. Carsten, I wanted to talk about current events today, specifically because we're recording today as much of North America is blanketed in very cold weather, both in snow and ice. I thought that maybe we'll just take a second to talk about this, because in last week's episode, we learned that there was a difference between weather and climate. And, you explained how these two things differ. But I wanted to ask you if you can explain the process that's taking place and how this relates back to climate.
Obviously, yeah, the current conditions are entirely weather right now, and storms bringing a lot of snow and cold, bitter cold in some cases, to much of North America right now. But this is has a lot to do with climate change in a subtle way, in that the polar vortex that is commonly discussed by the broadcast meteorologists is something that climate change, that global warming, in particular Arctic warming, which is accelerating faster than much of the rest of the planet, is tending to weaken the strength of the vortex. And as it does that, it's allowing the vortex to become a bit wavier and descend farther into the lower latitudes, sometimes reaching down to Texas or Florida even. And a lot of that has to do simply with the vortex is sort of the band of wind flow around the Arctic that in the summertime, when temperatures are warm, it's compressed up into northern Canada and Siberia and such. And then in the winter, as that cold air in the Arctic strengthens and the warm air in the lower latitudes weakens, it's allowed to expand equatorward. So the polar vortex is really describing the edge of the temperature discontinuity between the cold Arctic air and the warmer air at lower latitudes. And since the Arctic is warming faster than the lower latitudes under global warming, that temperature difference is becoming less. And as it becomes less, that weakens the boundary, and the boundary then can push farther south and push farther north into these large wave patterns that can bring frigid Arctic air down to lower latitudes.
Gotcha. Somewhat akin to opening the freezer door and watching the air tumble out. Is that correct?
In a sense, yes. In a sense, yes. If the air in your kitchen is cold already, you won't see that in such a dramatic pattern. But if it's warmer, then yes, you will.
Wow. So, Jenny, I was thinking about this. This has tremendous repercussions on energy and transportation, and those effects are quite obvious. With power outages and roads being closed. But what are the less obvious consequences of this kind of weather is taking place?
Well, you certainly see changes in ecosystem behavior. You see changes in population migration, whether it's human or wildlife or birds. I think you start to see how impacts like this affect underserved communities and tribal nations across all of the economic and social sectors. You start to see obviously implications to infrastructure and transportation. And secondary or tertiary consequences in things that we all depend on, whether it's manufacturing, goods and services, retail. You start to see all of this manifest in all of these sectors.
Yeah, thanks for that. And in a conversation this morning, I was speaking to somebody who had a delay getting their child to school because the water pipes had burst in the school. So, we do understand that there are tremendous ramifications and upset in people's daily lives, and we do hope that people are staying safe. I think, Dan, you had a thought?
Oh, I was just going to share that I was recently watching a episode of Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he was trying to share the difference between weather versus climate. And I thought it was very interesting. He was walking a dog on a very long leash, and basically he was walking in a straight line, and that was climate. And the dog was meandering all around him on this little walk. And that represented like weather. So, weather over a long period of time is it becomes, you can refer to it as the climate. So I thought that was a very, very interesting, and we're in a child-oriented educational business, so I tuned right into that and thought that was very, very interesting.
You're listening to a conversation about climate innovation. Coming up,
Read once a long time ago that the idea is people think, oh, we inherited the earth from our parents, but that's not really true. We're actually borrowing the earth from our kids and future generations. So if we want the earth to remain the same, we need to make immediate changes, and those changes have to be with kids and the mindset, so that we can make these difficult choices to leave, fossil fuel-based energies and move to renewable energies and solar and wind and all of these things that we can prevent continued climate destruction. And
that's up next when 2 Degree C Climate Chat continues. Described barefoot luxury, the casually sophisticated Southern Cross Club is Little Cayman's original resort. This hidden gem is as unique and vibrant as the island it inhabits. A true island treasure, it is the perfect place to dive, fish, and relax. Its 14 beachfront bungalows are situated on 900 feet of white sand, only minutes from the world-class diving found only in Little Cayman. Visit www.southerncrossclub.com to book your escape to tranquility.
Hey, this is Megan Haney-Greer, freediver, ocean explorer, and marine educator. Also, the imperfect conservationist. You're listening to the 2 Degree C Climate Chat podcast.
Well, maybe you can both give us a little background about how you got to where you are and this journey that you're on.
All right. So let me jump in first. And I founded High Touch High Tech back in 1992. And from that one location, we've expanded to 35 locations in 11 countries, and working on development in a couple of other countries right now, even in our pandemic. So wow. There's tremendous demand and value in our programming. We provide in normal times, we provide hands-on science experiences that meet the curriculum, and we go right into classrooms and provide those what we call in-school science field trips. But we've had to, of course, pivot now, and we're providing virtual content and delivering science kits to teachers and students. But the programming is just incredible. It's really shown tremendous growth. It's very popular, and kids love science, and parents value science, and that is what has led to our successful concept.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you've got these locations distributed across the world. You're obviously in the United States, but where else are you located?
Well, Terry Dactyl, would you like to jump in there?
Sure. Would you like me to give my background or jump in and answer Neil's question?
Oh, you can start wherever you like.
Yeah, no rules.
To jump on to Dan's commentary. So we're currently located in, obviously, the United States. We're in Canada. High Touch High Tech programs can also be found in Morocco, Nigeria, also in Turkey, in Qatar, Dubai, and then we're also in Southeast Asia, including Singapore, Vietnam, China, and South Korea. So
wow.
We like to say that the sun never sets on High Touch High Tech because, based on we're pretty much covering all the different time zones with our fun hands-on field trips.
And am I correct in saying that these are almost exclusively all children's programs, or are they adult programs as well?
They are predominantly children's programs. However, we have from time to time provided similar experiences for senior adults. It's really a beautiful experience. We've worked with adults in community programs, retirement communities. In fact, we even have a few locations who have done a program that is multi-generational, where they'll have preschool aged or elementary aged children brought to a retirement community to participate in our programs in conjunction with the senior adults. So, you know, our programs really are enjoyed by all ages.
Wow. And I mean, we're a corporate partner with High Touch, High Tech, but maybe you can give some background to the other types of corporate partnerships that you've embarked on.
So we've also embarked on corporate partnerships with Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, Beaches Family Resorts. And Dan, if you want to jump in and share a little more background about those partnerships and a few of the newer ones that we've recently created.
Well, you know, the most wonderful part of our partnerships with Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines is that's how Terry Dactyl joined our team 15 years ago. So it was through that partnership. We were working closely together, and that's how she was able to jump onto our team, which was a wonderful opportunity for High Touch, High Tech, and she's really helped us grow throughout the years. So we're always grateful for that, and always recognize that through that partnership with Royal Caribbean, Terry joined our team. But the Royal Caribbean experience has been wonderful for us and wonderful for them, because truly they're offering childcare programming. And the idea is that if the kids are super busy, the parents can enjoy the casino and lay around by the pool and you know, enjoy being on a vacation, while their kids can be edutained, you know, and entertained, but with a component of solid education. And since 1998, we've been providing the Adventure Science program on board Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines fleet-wide. And from there, we are in 4 of the Sandals Beaches family resorts in Jamaica and the Turks and Caicos. And we're also, our newest partnership is with the JW Marriott, and it's called the Plant Riverside District in Savannah, Georgia. And that's they're a dinosaur themed hotel, so we're providing dinosaur activities there for them.
Well, that's great. And we know that you're not exclusively doing dinosaur, even though we're talking a lot about dinosaurs, but can you maybe pass on some of the types of experiments that you're doing with children, so that you know, and to what purpose?
Sure. Terry, you want to take that, or would you like me to?
Jump in. We really do a variety of experiments covering all of the major scientific concepts. Our programs are aligned with the national science standards. And so, you know, we're doing experiments about air and weather, learning about air pressure, learning about the strength and power of air. You know, we are doing programs about disasters and phenomena around the world, where we erupt volcanoes, we learn about earthquakes. We even have an experiment where kids are learning about the hurricane hunters that go into the storms and, you know, capture all the readings and wind speeds and other things. You know, additional experiments talking about matter, chemistry. Of course, one of our fan favorites is where we, you know, we make our own version of silly putty, which we call space mud. And of course, you know, we cover plants, and we cover the environment, animals, where we learn about migration of birds. We learn about adaptations that animals have had to make over the years based on changes to their natural habitats. We learn about the food chain. You know, the list goes on and on. We have a library of close to, or more than at this point, 250 different science experiments So there's really a lot of information that kids are learning, and pretty much, our goal is to get kids excited, to engage their imagination, to teach them how to make observations of the world around them, and ultimately with the goal of getting them excited to learn about the world around them, because the way we see it is science is everywhere. And all you have to do is look for it, and you'll see it. And so to spark that imagination and curiosity, to get them to explore and engage with their environment, that's ultimately our goal. And if that creates a career path for future scientists, then we've done our job and then some.
That's great. And, that actually segues slightly to where I wanted to go, because when I was doing my own research about high touch, high tech, I found that, Dan, it seemed to be that your mission was to, to pull science out of the books and put it into the hands of children, and that really resonated with me. But what do you see as the role of climate in the future of STEM education?
Oh, it's the most important subject. I mean, if we really want to have the world be the same as it is for us and when we grew up, we absolutely must weave climate education into almost every one of our programs. And that's a big desire. I had read once a long time ago that, the idea is people think, oh, we inherited the earth from our parents, but that's not really true. We're actually borrowing the earth from our kids and future generations. So if we want the earth to remain the same, we need to make, immediate changes. And those changes have to be with kids and the mindset, so that we can make these difficult choices to leave, fossil fuel based energies and move to renewable energies and solar and wind and all of these things that we can prevent continued climate destruction. And as Jenny pointed out, the changes in ecosystems and the changes of behaviors of humans and animals. I mean, it's just this chain of events. So we feel that emphasis on climate change is very, very important, because one of our most popular programs is actually our weather programs, because students everywhere are going to be learning, especially in the US, are learning about the weather at all different age levels. So we developed a program called Global Fever quite a number of years ago to begin introducing the concept of global warming and sea levels rising, and what are these impacts and what do we look for. So we are trying to really weave climate education into almost all of our programs, because we have an attentive audience, no matter if they're booking our Chem Fun program or they've booked our Germ Jungle program. No matter what the concepts are and the topics are, there's always a place to plug the environment in there. I think it's super important for kids.
Yeah. And, I know you and Karsten and Jenny, you've been in talks about, implementing your strategies between 2 degrees C and high touch, high tech. Karsten, how would you share the strategy to deploy the 2 degrees C leaf sensor with high touch, high tech?
I really would focus a lot of that effort on introducing students to the concept of how do we measure the climate? How do we monitor the climate? And, that it's not as mystical as it might, as somebody might think, that, there are just observations somewhere else that some government is taking, but that each student can actually gather reliable observations and learn how to make observations that are, unbiased, and then incorporate that into the research that they do, the studies they do, the analysis that they might do in a STEM curriculum. So they're owning their own data, basically. They're rather than using somebody else's data that they may not understand, or it just seems, far and away, they're now using data that they themselves may have collected around their community, in their parks, on field trips that they may take into natural areas. So, it's a really important component of the scientific process is the data collection, as I think Dan and Terry would agree. Gathering the data is absolutely essential to being invested in the scientific process.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I feel it's so great because, you've developed these leaf sensors, and I feel like our role is going to be to get those leaf sensors into the hands of students that are participating in our programs. And that would be, to the tune of 16 million globally, somehow.
And
That
actually,
will definitely reduce a lot of the climate data gaps that are out there right now.
Yeah.
To that point, Dan, I actually want to bring Jenny in here because we know that climate change is having a disproportionate effect on children in particular. Jenny, maybe you can shed some light on the disparity along economic and racial lines.
Yeah, certainly. So, when we think about children and children's ability to cope and understand and manage stress, it spans lots of different dimensions. I think our children are receiving the information in their classroom that this is happening, and they see the events on the news or hear it through other channels. And they can, and like we have with the pandemic, they can either harbor the stress internally, or we can take initiatives and efforts like with the leaf and like with high tech on how do we then rechannel that energy or that stress into solutions. I'll just mention my personal story. Yesterday, I was driving to Chapel Hill, and my daughter saw on Highway 40 in North Carolina all the trees being torn down. And there was this massive piles of trees all over the highway. And she said, but this is not good for planet Earth. And I said, well, what would you like to do about it? And her response was, well, let's write the governor. So we sat in the car and wrote a letter to North Carolina Governor Cooper. And she wrote the sentence, basically, the trees being cut down are not good for planet Earth. How about we work with the school system and give them seeds so that kids can plant the seeds?
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it was really interesting. This was all her, because she, in a way, with her solution, she was indicating that, development and progress is inevitable and population growth is obviously inevitable, but what can we do to help minimize the impact while we think of, real big scale solutions? This is first grade. She's 6. But, I think that there are uneven and undistributed impacts. And I think underserved communities that don't have access to good education, or really it's more about methods and fun things and solutions where they feel a sense of ownership on what they can do about it. And what I like about this podcast and what I think we're trying to do with our partnership is enabling simple methods that help science improve pathways to solutions, and that they have a role in that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with that. Thank you, Jenny. And I think that children, as you said before, they're absorbing all of the content, even though we may assume that they're not absorbing it to the level that we understand it, but they're certainly absorbing things, and offering children a meaningful way to participate in a positive climate adaptation is a good strategy.
Jenny, let us know if your daughter hears back from Governor Cooper.
Will do. It's funny. So I was going to hit send on that letter. And then I thought, no, part of our job here is capacity building. So my strategy was to engage with the teacher to then get the principal involved.
Oh,
and,
wonderful.
And then have her classmates perhaps sign the letter with her, and then submit it as a way to see, can we get a large seat packet for the school, and then orchestrate a field day, and then work with our Forest Service locally and other experts on. So now you have data collection techniques, you have an actionable activity, you get outdoor exposure, and it helps to promote healthy people, healthy planet. So, many of us working mothers and professionals and educators have to achieve 5 goals at once, or 5 objectives with one activity. And so I'm inspired. Thank you. And I'd love to further build our partnership with High Touch, High Tech to see how we can work on this particular topic.
Well, I assume your daughter goes to a local Asheville school.
She does.
And if you do get a consensus at the school and her classroom, we'd love to provide a weather climate related hands-on experience for their classroom. We could do it virtually and send the science kits.
That sounds great. Let's follow up
as a fun reward.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
I think what's really interesting in this discussion, and it just strikes me, is the new generations that are coming along. I think they are starting to fully realize that if they want solutions, they're going to have to come up with them themselves. They're going to have to participate. They're not going to. They don't want to depend on others to solve these problems. They see that the struggles that we've had in our generations to have that happen, and they're taking a different approach, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and I think the unique aspect of the sort of thinking and approach is that we're enabling a mindset that is a data-driven solution approach. So, there's no way to interpret numbers other than what the numbers are. 2 is a 2 is a 2. 2 is not a 3. And so I think what I like about what we're doing is helping our future generations understand that a data-driven observation is, a reliable source of information or knowledge for that moment and for that space and time.
And in an experiential learning environment, being hands-on creates and develops the problem-solving skills. So kids, identify the problem, and then through that hands-on experience, come up with potential solutions. So it's
Exactly.
When it comes full circle, and getting to what Karsten had said, kids are learning, this generation of children, they're learning that if they want to see change, they have to get involved. It's not like previous generations where we're sitting back, we're learning from a textbook and just reciting and regurgitating what we were told to learn. It's this generation now is not just regurgitating, they're processing it and identifying and taking the steps to make a change and to move things forward.
As Gandhi said, you must be the change you wish to implement.
You wish to see,
yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think it's just fantastic. We're, also, all of us at 2 Degrees C are certainly excited about our partnership with High Touch, High Tech. And we know that once the children return back to the classrooms all around the world, we know that you're going to be offering them engaging and meaningful content. And we're happy to be a part of that journey. And we look forward to some success stories as that rollout occurs. And, we certainly wish High Touch, High Tech all the greatest success in the coming year.
Absolutely. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. We're certainly excited about this partnership with 2 Degrees C and seeing it blossom. And, we're going to hit the ground running as soon as those kids are back in the class.
Happy to be there.
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You're listening to a conversation about climate innovation.
Coming up, how do you think that species are adapting to climate change, and what do you think we can expect to see?
Yeah, so the easiest thing for any species to do, especially if it's a mobile species like sharks or land animals that can move, is to shift to environments that are what they're used to, rather than trying to adapt to an environment that's changed. So if they can, like sharks, if they move into waters that used to be too cold for them, but now are just right, whereas waters where they used to be happy are now becoming too warm for them.
That's up next when 2 Degrees C Climate Chat continues. Blue Ocean Art is the premier collective of marine artists and a proud partner of 2 Degrees C. From some of the world's most renowned underwater photographers to painters, sculptors, and multimedia artists from around the world, Blue Ocean Art's large collection features moving imagery showcasing the beauty of the world's oceans. Our artists' passion to capture the moments in special places in our oceans affords the rest of us a glimpse into that mystical realm that makes up so much of our planet and has a deep impact on all of us, yet we know so little about. Our shared interest in protecting the environment means we look forward to using the leaf climate sensor on our projects and trips as soon as they're able to reach the critical next stage of product development. Visit www.blueoceanart.com to see their selection of fine art prints and decorative products to bring the beauty of the world's coral reefs and underwater environments into your space. Listeners of the 2 Degrees C Climate Chat podcast can exclusively take 25% off with the code 2 Degrees C at checkout.
Okay, so let's pivot away towards the news, and as we do each week. And so for podcast listeners, for the first time, we do have a newsletter called the 2 Degrees C Climate Check. And if you're interested to follow along, we do send out a couple of hand-picked selection of news headlines that we think are interesting, as well as an important report of the week that we feel we'd like to share with people. So please go and subscribe at 2degreesc.org, and we'll get you the 2 Degrees C Climate Check. This week, I did find a couple of interesting ones, Carson. I know you and I like to laugh along sometimes when we look at the headlines, but one of the ones that I found was interesting, there was one about an alkalinity trap at the bottom of the world. Maybe you can explain a little bit about the alkalinity of the ocean and how this is changing.
Certainly. Ocean acidification is a big topic, and the ocean acts as probably the largest sink of carbon dioxide in our environment, but it does so at a very slow rate, and that rate is dependent on temperatures. So colder temperatures, such as we have in the Arctic and Antarctic oceans, tend to more readily absorb carbon dioxide. As that carbon dioxide is absorbed, though, it changes the alkalinity, acidity, the pH of the ocean. And so what we're seeing today is that these processes are making the ocean from slightly basic to a little bit more acidic, which is making it difficult for a lot of shell species, shellfish and such, that need that carbon to build their shells and calcium carbonate shells and stuff to do so. And in some cases, the change in alkalinity is actually causing those shells to dissolve.
And the
So
coral effects on the coral reefs as well, right?
Coral reefs as well, snails, lobsters, anything that's building a calcium carbonate shell is going to be affected.
Yeah, I think that is certainly a question that remains largely unanswered of how that system change is going to affect us, and it's definitely one to watch for those listening. Staying in the ocean, something that caught my attention was the headline is "Climate Crisis Pushing Great White Sharks into New Waters." And I mean, with everything doom and gloom in the world, it's not hard to look at headlines and go, wow, now we've got sharks involved. But I actually clicked on it to read it, and this one was quite interesting, Carson. How do you think that species are adapting to climate change, and what do you think we can expect to see?
Yeah, so the easiest thing for any species to do, especially if it's a mobile species like sharks or land animals that can move, is to shift to environments that are what they're used to, rather than trying to adapt to an environment that's changed. So if they can, like sharks, if they move into waters that used to be too cold for them but now are just right, whereas waters where they used to be happy are now becoming too warm for them. Their prey species are also migrating, so they're following the food, and this is happening on land and in water across a lot of species. So we're seeing a large shift in where we're now finding species, and it's really upsetting a lot of food webs that didn't used to have predators like apex predators such as sharks.
Yeah, and this would affect the survivability of species as well, correct?
Absolutely. Certainly, species that aren't able to mobilize, invertebrates, for example, that are in a fixed location, um, they may undergo such stress that they die out. Um, other species may attempt to move to new climates to maintain that habitat that they're used to, and find that they don't have enough food to survive in those new places. And
Yeah.
still other prey species may suddenly become susceptible to new predators that they don't have a defense against.
Yeah, and I actually saw a little bit of this in my own research. I found this species of spiders in Portugal that are just, unable to make the jump in adaptation. And I think most people would look at a loss of a spider species as a good thing, but in this case, I think it's more alarming. And definitely worth looking at deeper. Jenny, I had a question for you because certainly in my household there's a lot of discussion about pollen. We live in an area that has a lot of oak trees, and the headline was pollen season grows 20 days in 30 years as climate crisis hits, hay fever suffers. I know that this topic has come up before amongst our group, and what do you think the adaptations are as far as human health with regard to the climate change itself?
Yeah, so, we have so much going on. Rising temperatures combined with increase in CO2 concentrations is changing the mix of our pollutants in the atmosphere, which affect the human health. And, this particular article talked about just the elongation of the pollen season by 20 days. And that it's becoming more intense, and it's really affecting children and adults. And it triggers things like allergies and sneezing and itchy eyes and runny nose. Adaptation measures continue to be examined by epidemiologists. I mean, the more trouble you have being outdoors limits what you can do outdoors, which is really unfortunate because for those that are outdoor enthusiasts, this can actually be quite a deterrent. And actually, a lot of people use the outdoors for their happiness and mental and emotional health. They're also talking about how poor atmospheric and pollution and pollen impacts are affecting children and their school performance. I would love to see a discussion with our epidemiologists and experts to think about what are some adaptation strategies.
That's a great idea.
I think we need to work on this one.
Good. Well, hold that space. We'll come back.
The whole concept of the crossroads of climate and health is really compelling.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
scary.
Well, and even it's not just humans. I think that any pet owner could certainly reflect on their own experience with their own pets. I know here in Florida, I frequently have to change, just the way that I walk my dog, and the fact that I have to bring, extra water depending where I walk with him. So,
Neil,
hello.
Yeah, I would like to mention though, if we look at this pandemic as sort of a model for how we have adapted and things at the crossroads between climate and health, one, it's important that without additional adaptation measures put in place, we will see the impacts deteriorate and the cases of asthma and allergies increase. But I am hopeful and optimistic. I think that our experience with the pandemic has led us to understand behavior patterns and adaptation measures that could and would be successful. And I think with the data-driven approach, the science would help point us in the right direction of what works and what doesn't. So, I think that understanding what those adaptation measures are is the first step.
Yeah, very good. Well, thanks very much, guys. I think that'll bring us to conclusion of today's episode. We want to thank our guests, Dan Shaw and Terry Connolly from High Touch High Tech. We're so excited to see you guys go forward in the next year and take us with you. And but for those of you that are looking to find High Touch High Tech, you can find them at sciencemadefun.net is the place to find them. Otherwise, you can find details to that in our blog, which is at 2degreec.org.
Thanks for listening to the 2 Degree C Climate Chat podcast. Next week, we'll be interviewing Jim Helm from Blue Ocean Art. So be sure to check back in then, or find out more about the stories you just heard by visiting our blog at 2degreec.org and connect to others like you via our social media. We'd love to hear your stories and climate journeys, and if you like what you've heard today, please like, subscribe, and comment wherever you hear your podcasts.